Dear Dhamma friends, we have come to the second Dhamma sermon in this Kalalgoda English medium retreat. May you give your consent by saying Sadhu Sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So chakkhuna rupang disva piya rupe na sarajjati appiya rupe na vyapajjati upattita kaya saticha viharati appamana cetasoti. Dear Dhamma friends, as you can remember, yesterday we discussed Maha Tanhasankhaya Sutta, which comes in Majjhima Nikaya, and this is one of the wonderful suttas which touches some deeper teachings of the Buddha, as we discussed on yesterday. So this has happened because of a wrong view, pernicious view happened in one of the monks called Sati, and therefore Buddha wants to clarify his teaching. Buddha wants to really establish back his teaching, and he is questioning Venerable Sati as well as the other monks to check whether they understood the teaching properly. So he started to explain his teaching very profoundly in detail. And therefore, we came on yesterday to know that he is now explaining Paticcasamuppada, dependent arising, and that is one of the key teaching of the Buddha. And as we discussed yesterday also, in Mahahattipadopama Sutta, Venerable Sariputta says that if one knows or if one well understood this Paticcasamuppada, he well understood the Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha. So that is so crucial to understand this Paticcasamuppada. Actually, what we need to understand is not the 12 links. 12 links are the kind of the examples. Each and every link is an example for the Paticcasamuppada principle. This principle is the most important part. This principle one needs to know through the practice, and literally or in the surface, understanding is just kind of a logic. We can understanding it, kind of a cause and effect relationship, but one needs to see this, realize this through the practice. So that is what Buddha is asking again and again from the monks, to check whether they well understood it by themselves, not just because Buddha is preaching it, not just because Buddha is saying it, but rather whether they themselves have understood it, themselves have experienced it. And on yesterday we discussed the ongoing cycle, kind of the vicious cycle, how one get caught to this Paticcasamuppada. For example, we discussed that a young boy, a child being born to this world, and then he is growing up, he is learning and he is playing, and then he is getting to his youth, and then his faculties are grown. Now he is looking at a beautiful sight, and once he is looking at a beautiful sight, he delights in it if it is so beautiful. And once he delights in it, he attaches to it, he starts to crave for that, and then he clings to it. And when one clings to something, then he becomes that. Upadana paccaya bhava. And then he is reborn in a particular state of mind, which may be delightful for a certain time, and that is a birth to a new state of mind. Upadana paccaya bhava, bhava paccaya jati. But that new state is not permanent, it is transient, and it is also subject to change, and therefore ultimately it will cease, it will also fade away, and he will back into the typical mundane or boring state of mind. So then he feels some kind of a unsatisfaction, kind of a collapse, kind of a dissatisfaction. So that leads to sorrow, lamentation, this all the mass of suffering. So even though it appears like kind of a momentary experience, this is what we do constantly. So when we are hearing a particular sound, if it is so pleasing, so beautiful, then we attach to it, we delight on it, and based on that delight, we cling to it. Once we are clung to it, then we are reborn in a particular state of mind which may be new, and we are lost in that world, in that sensible world, sensual world. And after a while it will fade away, it will finish, and then we'll be back into the typical normal world, and that temporary pleasing world is no more. Similarly, when we are going through some pleasing smell, again we get attached to it, and again we delights on it, and we welcomes that, and we adhere to that, we get into it, and we get caught to it. Therefore, we will be reborn to that, and after some time it also disappear, it also fade away. Again we'll be come back to the typical mundane life. We may be enjoying certain taste, we are delighting in it, and then we welcomes that, we are searching for that, again and again we are searching for such thing, and each time we get into that this transient state, which may be delightful, it after we'll be reborn into a new world, new state of mind, and then again after a while it will collapse, it will finish, and again we'll be back into the normal mundane world. Similarly, suppose we get some kind of a mental object, mental image to the mind. If it is so delightful, if it is enticing, if it is triggering the mind, then we start to think on it. On and on, again and again we are thinking. We'll be reborn in a fantasy world. After some time, okay, someone coming and telling you, you have to go somewhere, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to come back to the real world. Real world is not that delightful. It is not the kind of a such dream world, but it is based on the realistic day-to-day activities, pain and pleasure and all these things, and you were in a kind of a dream world. That dream world is very temporary. So we can see constantly that is what we are going through. So in today's terms, in the commercial world and in the today's sensual world, we are constantly going after this pleasure principle. We are through the eyes we are going after pleasures, through the ears we are going after pleasures, through the nose we are going after pleasures, through the tongue we are going after pleasures, through the body we are going after pleasures. If not any of these, we start to think by our own, we are in our own world and just in the kind of a fantasy world. Sometimes people use various mechanisms to even deepen that, by using alcohol and drugs and all these things, just to have their own fabricated world. So basically we like to sort of not to experience this present moment. We try somehow to escape from the present. We try to escape from the truth and be in a temporary world. We in a way hate this present moment, and we like to delight, or we like to get trapped, entangled in a different world. So this is the vicious cycle we constantly going through. Suppose at deathbed, what shall we do? So we may be going through severe pain due to the death pains and all these things. Still we are not happy at all. At that time also we are unsatisfactory. Our mind is in a frustration, and we want to hold something. We want to capture something. Suppose the others are crying, others are trying to help and all these things, but everything is failing. Still we want to hold to something. So at the last moment also we are holding something, and that holding further goes into another life, future life, that also similar thing. So this momentarily grasping and getting into a temporary state of mind, having birth to a temporary state of mind, and staying there for a while, and ultimately collapse, ultimately fades away, and in coming back to the typical mundane, boring world, is exactly what happened at the deathbed as well. So therefore this momentary explanation can be applied to vast experience as well, to even to this life and to the next life as well. The same thing, same principle happens again and again, repeated again and again. So Buddha says, not knowing this principle, not knowing this Dhamma, that the beings are again and again coming into the womb, coming back to this world, again and again suffering. So then what is the escape? So that is the most important part as the followers of the Buddha, and he has found a solution, a way out, and we need to really understand how the way out. So he explains that way out in this sutta. And he says that there is a Buddha arises in the world. Now after long time, there's a Buddha appears in the world. And he, by his own understanding, by self-enlightenment, he realizes the truth. And he becomes the tamer of the world, knower of the world. And he tames the men and whoever the tameable. And he preaches a Dhamma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. And that invites to come and see, come and test. And he proclaims Dhamma, which is proclaims some kind of a celibacy, which is more kind of purified state of living. And someone listened to that Dhamma. And again he listened to that Dhamma. He understands there is something there. So he too was caught in the typical day-to-day activities. He too was caught in the pleasure principle. But now he hears this Dhamma, which is quite against the grain. So after hearing this Dhamma, Buddha says, now this person, suppose that the same person we discussed on yesterday, he was in the typical chain, vicious cycle, but due to some reason, he was able to listen to this teaching of the Buddha. And he understood that the typical pleasure principle is there, but still there's this kind of an alternative path is available in the world. It is preached by the Buddha, say, in the present day, 2600 years ago. And he now listened to that. And here in this sutta, Buddha says, this person now understood that practicing this Dhamma to the utmost level is fairly difficult being in the lay life. So he decides to go forth. So he leaves his many wealth or less wealth, or he lives with many relatives or few relatives, and he becomes a monk. So after becoming a monk, so Buddha says now he leaves aside all this killing. Panatipata pativirato hoti. So he becomes he abstained from killing. And again he abstained from stealing. He abstained from sexual misconduct, and going beyond that, he becomes celibate. And he abstained from lying, and he becomes one who speaks truth. And again, he abstained from divisive speech, and he becomes someone who unites people. And again, he avoids harsh speech. His speech becomes very pleasant to the others, and he becomes kind of a soft speaker. And then he only speaks what is useful, timely speaking, and his words become kind of treasure-like, pointing to a treasure. Such a valuable speak he starts to practice. Now the same person now slowly changing, and not only that, he, according to the Buddha's teaching, now he sort of further strengthens his morality. And he avoids certain unnecessary dealings, like using money and eating at night and all these things, which are certain sort of unique principles, unique discipline that Buddha has preached to his Sangha, to his fellows. So he is now trying to purify according to that as well. Similarly, whatever the robes he has received, he is satisfied with that less. Similarly, whatever the food he received, he is satisfied with it. Whatever the medicine he received, he is satisfied with it. Whatever the abiding he received, he is satisfied with it. So likewise, Buddha says, now this person, this monk, is now equipped with ariyena silakhandena samannagato, the noble morality, which is preached by the Buddha. So this is one great step that this person has now taken. So not only that, then he further restrained himself. He says, ariyena indriya sangvarena samannagato. That's another side that we can think. Actually, when I am talking like that, you might feel little alienated, thinking that this is only possible for a monk. But there are lay people who are trying their best and even living to some, even living better than certain monks. So if one has this willingness, this
kusala chanda, this inspiration, then one can live according to this teaching. So how one restrain himself? So Buddha says, Chakkuna rupan diswa na nimittak gahi hoti, nanu byanjanak gahi. Yattadikarana metang chakkindriyang asangutang viherantang, abijja domanasa papaka akusala dhamma anvansaveyung, tassa samvaraya patipajjati rakkati chakkindriyang. So related to the eye, when we have healthy eyes, once we open our eyes, there are various sights seen. And by seeing that, there's a possibility that unarisen lust can arise. Unarisen anger can arise. So he understands that there's such vulnerability is there. Such possibility is there. Therefore, he restrains his eye. He does not go to places which he feels, which he fears that his mind get entangled, his mind get polluted. And he does not see certain sights in today's terms, films or movies or teledramas or whatever, which he understood that is detrimental to his mental development, that harms his already developed qualities, that pollutes its mind. It arises unarisen lust, it arises unarisen anger, it increases delusion. He understands the repercussions of seeing such sights, and he restrains his eye faculty. He guards his eye faculty. Similarly, when one is hearing certain sounds, unarisen lust can arise, unarisen anger can arise. So he understands this drawback in listening to certain sounds, listening to certain music, listening to certain songs. So he avoids it. He prevents listening to such songs, and he protects his ear faculty. Similarly, there are smells which arouses anger, which arouses lust, and he understands the drawback in it. And after understanding it, he tries to protect his nose. Similarly, there are certain tastes which arises lust, which arises greed, which arises even anger, and he understood that, and he protects his tongue. Similarly, the body, he does not get into any kind of touch which arouses lust, which arouses anger, and he protects himself. Similarly, the mind. So even actually the five faculties are easy to understand. Even the mind, Buddha says that when certain mental objects peep into the mind, they arouse lust, they arouse anger, if not protected. So this monk, this practitioner, understand that well. Therefore, when certain mental objects come to the mind, he immediately try to discard it, so that he can protect the mind. He understood the value of maintaining undisturbed mindfulness, maintaining a purified mind. Therefore, Buddha says, Ariyena indriya samvarena samannagato. This is a very noble restrainment of the faculties. Ajjattam abhyaseka sukham patisangvedi. If one lives like this, it is not that he is going through some kind of a suffering. Rather, Buddha says, he's experiencing within himself kind of a spotless delight, spotless happiness. So you can see time to time, you are able to maintain kind of a serene state of mind. In a way, little blissful, very serene, very calm, very peaceful, but all of a sudden anger arises. All of a sudden lust arises and destroys that kind of serene state of mind. So if you understand that, so we have to try our best to maintain that, to protect that. So more and more we protect that, there is a different type of happiness arising. And that happiness, Buddha says, is kind of a spotless happiness, kind of an undefiled happiness, unsullied happiness. So internally we are getting different types of happiness that is spotless, that is blameless. And similarly in the previous one also, when one is well established in morality, there also one experiencing anavajja sukha, That is called you are blameless. You feel that you are a good person. You are helping others, you are maintaining your precepts, and there is no fear arising because of you to the others. You become trustworthy, you become truthful, others start to trust you. So others start to depend on you. They are going to give you responsibilities because you become a trustworthy, knowledgeable, dependable person. So by knowing this, you get some happiness. That is called anavajja sukha, blameless happiness. So more and more one refine these good qualities, one becomes a good person, one further strengthens or sort of guards the mind, guards the faculties, and he does not stop there. He further now practices mindfulness. Ariyena sati sampajanyena samannagato. Now further in strengthening happens. Now he starts to practice mindfulness. When he is looking in the front, he is mindful. When he looks aside, he is mindful. When he walks to the front, he is mindful. When he is coming back, he is mindful. When he is eating, he is mindful. When he is drinking, he is mindful. When he is stretching arms, he is mindful. When he is bending arms, he is mindful. When he is urinating, he is mindful. When he is defecating, he is mindful. When he is sitting, he is mindful. When he is standing, he is mindful. When he is walking, he is mindful. So everywhere he is trying to maintain this mindfulness and clear comprehension. Ariyena sati sampajanyena samannagato. So Buddha is taking step by step, deeper and deeper, how we become more and more mindful, more and more with the Dhamma. So when develop on this path more and more, then Buddha says, so chakkuna rupan disva piya rupe rupe na sarajjati. Now there's a different state going to happen in the mind. Yesterday we discussed how one get trapped in the typical experience. Now Buddha says, when this practitioner now look at certain object, even though it is very beautiful, even though it is delightful, he tries to maintain the peace of mind. He tries to maintain his earned serenity of mind without getting into lust. Apya rupe na vyapajjati. Similarly, if he sees certain enemy or whoever, some disliked person, disliked thing, still he is trying to maintain unshakable mind without disturbed. So immediately this may not be possible, but he is trying. So that's why even in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, that's two coming in the Majjhima Nikaya, there also Buddha says, so when you see a beautiful object, there's a manapa can arise, the likes can arise. But there also Buddha says, you are trying your best to come back to the equanimity, come back to the typical normal state of mind, which is now, that normal state of mind is fairly peaceful and it is undisturbed. You are mindful. Upattita kaya saticha viharati. Now you have some established mindfulness. As practitioners, you might have even experienced, more and more you practice, more and more your mind starts to stay with you. Rather than jumping outside, your mind now starts to stay with you. Why mind go outside? Because the mind is not happy with you. It is not satisfied with you or kind of frustrated with the internally. So it is going and finding happiness outside. More and more one practices mindfulness, especially the mindfulness based on the body, then mind starts to stay with the body. More and more you practice, therefore, even when you are looking at certain things, Buddha says, still mind does not go and delight in that beautiful sight, welcomes that beautiful sight, go and adhere to that beautiful sight, go and trapped in this beautiful sight. Rather, mind likes to stay with you rather than going out. Similarly, there may be a delightful say sound, a song, a music, and this practitioner now do not welcome that, do not go after that, do not go in search of that. Rather, he prefers to keep his mind with himself, with herself. And that is, in a way, very peaceful, because Buddha says he is living appamana cetasa. So when our mind grasping something, our mind become narrowed. That's what we discussed yesterday, paritta cetasa. Where when we see something, we already had some kind of a peace. So that peace is no more, and our mind get established in this new object, and it is get trapped in it, colored by that. All the qualities of that object being transferred to the mind. So mind get caught, mind get trapped, mind get entangled in that object. But now this practitioner, knowing that drawback, is trying to maintain sort of immeasurable mind, which does not go and trapped in what he has seen. Similarly, what he has heard. Similarly, what he has sensed through the nose. It may be a beautiful smell, a pleasurable smell, but he is now not going after that. He tries to maintain equanimity. He tries to maintain unentangled mind. He prefers the clarity of the mind. Unentangled clarity of the mind. Further, he may be eating, say, tasty food, delicious food, but still he is not trapped in it, not going after that, not greed on it. And he tries to maintain his earned equanimity, earned immeasurable mind, undisturbed mind. There may be even mental objects coming to the mind, and even those mental objects, he understood that if I follow them, I get entangled. It leads to mental proliferation. I will be reborn in a fantasy world, which is very transient, which is harmful in a way. And it will lead to arise lust again. It will lead to arise anger again. So by knowing this, by seeing this drawback, he tries to protect the mind. And he is living in a immeasurable mind, freed mind, unentangled mind, and he prefers to maintain that unentangled, freed mind. More and more one practices this. So yesterday we took another sutta as a which discussed the same point, Kaccanagotta Sutta. There also Buddha mentioned to Venerable Kaccana that typically beings are living upaya upadana abhinivesa vinibaddo kaccana ayang loko. People's mind are either close to objects, or they are holding, grasping objects, cling to object, or they are in it, trapped, entangled in the object. Upaya upadana abhinivesa. So these are the typical behavior of the mind. More and more we live like that, unmindfully. Unmindfully we may be caught to certain sights. Unmindfully we may get closer to certain sounds. Unmindfully we may be clung to certain smells. Unmindfully we may be trapped in certain tastes. Unmindfully we may get caught to certain thoughts. So either state, either we get close, or we grasp, clung to, or we are trapped, totally trapped in it. So these are the three states that one can stay unmindfully. So more and more one develops mindfulness, one understands that's a trapped, that is becoming like a slave to that object. So one understands there is these objects. For the eye, sights are objects. For the ear, sounds are object. For the nose, smells are object. For the tongue, tastes are objects. For the body, tactile sensations are objects. For the mind, mental objects are the objects. So one has some kind of an understanding. There is a kind of a knowing and what is being known. Kind of a subject-object relationship. So one has some kind of understanding about it. Some distinguished understanding about this subject-object relationship. And one tries to see objectively about the experience without getting caught to it. When we are lost, mindfulness, then we are get caught. We are get caught to the Mara. So when we are mindful, we are free from Mara. We are free from the color of the object. We are free from the qualities of the object. We are established in mindfulness and our mind is freed. So this practitioner, therefore Buddha says, Tancha upaya upadanang chetso adittanang abhinivesānusayang na upeti, na upadiyati, nadittati, attameti. So the same information Buddha is giving a little differently. So he, understanding this drawback, he now keeps try to maintain the mind without taking it too close to objects. Na upadiyati, not getting clung to, not grasping things. Similarly, nadittati, there are certain mental standpoints, and he is not now strongly holding those even. So yesterday we discussed that people are having certain viewpoints, they strongly hold them, and they think that is the only truth, every other things are false. So they even go to battle with others, killing each others because of a viewpoint. But this person now understand, when one is holding even such viewpoint, it is grasping, it is holding, it is harmful. And even he lets go any of these holdings. And on the other hand, he further practices mindfulness, he develops concentration, and he starts to observe various phenomena. And this sutta, in the Kaccanagotta Sutta, therefore, Buddha says, when one practices mindfulness, he starts to observe the various phenomena, he understands that these phenomena are arising. Say, for example, when you are observing in walking meditation, you see that each and every step, as your foot touches the ground, there is the stiffness arising, there is the hardness arising, there is the heat arising, there is a motion arising. So likewise, certain characteristics are there, again and again arising. Similarly, say you are watching certain feelings. So all of a sudden, a feeling is arisen in a particular place. Again, another sensation arises at another place. Again, another sensation arises at another place. So you are watching, you understand that these sensations are again and again arising. Again, if you start to watch the mind, there also you understand different mental states, different thoughts, again and again arising. So Buddha says, when one sees this arising nature, he understood that if he is holding kind of a extreme idea, thinking that nothing exists, it is a wrong view. It is taking an extreme. So more and more one sees this arising nature, then he is discarding the wrong view that nothing exists. Similarly, on the other side, more and more one sees this udayavaya, udayabhyanupassi, where one is looking at this arising and passing away, and he is now seeing even in walking, even though these certain element characteristics arise, they also pass away. Immediately they pass away. Stiffness arises and at that very moment it passes away. Hardness arises, at that very moment it passes away. Similarly, the little motions arise, movement arise, at that very moment it passes away. Suppose one experiencing little pains. So after a second, after a while, it passes away. So at the beginning it appears like a huge pain, but more and more one is concentrated. Improved mindfulness helps one to see that it is not just one unit-like pain, but it all are like bristles, little pains, everywhere scattered, and that appears as one pain. Actually, once when we are well concentrated and observed, one will understand it is little pains, like pinpointed, everywhere little pains, quickly arising, passing away, arising, passing away. So he understands this passing away nature. Even when he is looking at his mind, maybe thoughts passing away, maybe mental states passing away. So he again and again see the passing away. And Buddha says, when one sees passing away, that extreme view, thinking that everything exists, cannot last. He can't hold that kind of a wrong view that everything exists. Because on his very eyes, he sees that things are dissolving, things are disappearing, things are passing away. So now he is discarding both extremes. And then he understands why things are passing away, why things are arising. Say, for example, when two sticks are rubbed together, suppose two dry sticks are rubbed together, more and more you rub each other, there is heat arise. Why heat arise? Because of the rubbing, because of the contact. So because of this contact, heat arise. Suppose if you keep these two sticks away, then what happen? The generated heat dissipate. So then for heat to arise, there is a cause. Cause is that rubbing, cause is that contact. So similarly, Buddha says, for these feelings to arise, there is a cause, that is the contact. So all these, what we are seeing as arising, they are not kind of self-arising or self-made, self-created. Rather, they are caused by certain causes. There are different causes. Especially, for example, for feelings, Buddha says, contact is the cause. Say, when your eye get contact with sight, due to that, if it is a pleasurable sight, then a pleasurable feeling arises, happy feeling arises, because of the contact. Similarly, if you hear beautiful sound, so the sound and the ear contact coming together, and the pleasurable feeling arises. Similarly, for each and every pleasurable feeling, for each and every painful feeling, for each and every equanimous feeling, the contact is the reason. So one will see that things are occurring due to causes, due to reasons. So then those two extremes are dropped. What are those? Everything exists is one extreme. Nothing exists is another extreme. Now this yogi, practitioner, he understands when contact arises, when certain contact is there, appropriate feeling arises. If that contact is causing painful feeling, accordingly painful feeling arises. When this contact ceases, this resultant painful feeling also ceases. Similarly, there are causes, there are contacts which is causing pleasurable feelings. So when these such contacts occur, then pleasurable feelings arise. When such contact is no more, when such contact ceases, arisen pleasurable feeling ceases. Similarly, there are certain contacts which generates neither pleasurable nor painful feelings, equanimous feelings, and when such contacts also disappear, the resultant equanimous feeling also disappears. So one understands this principle now. Imasmin sati idang hoti, imasuppada idang uppajjati. When this exists, that also exists. When the arising of this, that also arises. Imasmin asati idang nahoti, imasa nirodha idang nirujjati. When that does not exist, when this does not exist, that also does not exist. With the cessation of this, that also ceases. So this is the principle he is constantly understanding through the observation. He is very mindfully observing, quietly observing, carefully observing how causes are conditioning for certain results to appear. How causes disappear and the results also disappear. Now he is established in Patisamuppada. Because of this, what happens? So he is no more delighted in these arisen painful feelings, no more delighted in these pleasurable feelings, no more delighted in these equanimous feelings, or he no more sort of frustrated about the painful feelings, no more frustrated about the pleasurable feelings, no more frustrated or agitated about the equanimous feelings. He tried to maintain kind of an undisturbed mind, because he understands they are coming and going, they are arising and passing away. If something is arising and passing away, if I am holding such a transient thing, can I have lasting happiness? So when things are arising and passing away, if I am holding such, which is subject to change, can I have lasting happiness? Then Buddha says, cannot. Because we are attaching to something, expecting that qualities will remain for long time. But intrinsically, things are changing. Intrinsically, things are changing. And things are always changing, always transient. And then what happened to what we have attached? We were expecting certain qualities in a particular person, in a particular state, in a particular thing, whatever. But it is subject to change. And if we attach, then we are going to suffer, because that very thing can't exist even a second without changing. It is subject to impermanence. If we attach, then we are going to suffer. And again, this process, no one can control. There is no external person, omnipotent person coming and controlling this whole process. Rather, it is happening due to other causes. Even those causes are impermanent. It's an extremely vulnerable situation. There are situations arise due to causes. Even these causes are impermanent. These causes are not in our command, not in our control. So the results also transient, results also impermanent, results also not in our command, not according to our control. So more and more one understands that, so more and more grasping reduce. So by seeing certain sights, now he is not cling to it. Typically, Vedana Pacchaya Tanha. Now, feelings are there, happy feelings are there, painful feelings are there, but he tries to maintain mind free from craving. Now, when craving ceases, no more craving, it is not possible to grasping, because the aggravated state of craving is grasping. So if you are not improving, or if you are not feeding craving, it will disappear, it will fade away. So there is no upadana. So because of the ceasing of the craving, then the cessation of upadana. When there is no clinging, how can there be becoming? There is no bhava. The new world cannot arise. Suppose there is a beautiful song you are hearing, and you understood, now if I am going to hear that again and again, if I am going to distract myself, so I am already in a kind of a peaceful state of mind, so I better look after this state of mind. This is the reality. This is the real world. This is the present moment. And you give value to that present moment through wisdom. And you understand, if I am going to distract myself to that sound, that song, it's true you may be getting kind of a temporary pleasure, but after that it goes away. And so you are restraining yourself not to get caught to that. So this temporary world not created. You are not born to that temporary world. No becoming. No becoming means no birth to that new world. No birth to that world means no decay, lamentation, sorrow, all that no more. So you are maintaining the present world. You are in the earth, not in the moon. You are trying to be in earth. Very much like that. So this body itself is the earth. So you are trying to keep your attention on yourself. You are trying to be in your body rather than clinging to someone else's body, rather than clinging to someone else's sound, rather than clinging to someone else's smell, rather than clinging to taste, rather than clinging to sensation, rather than clinging to mental object. So you are trying to be with yourself. You are happy with yourself. You are contented. So why we are not contented? So that's why Buddha says, Santutti paramam dhanam. Contentment is the utmost wealth. So you can see how Buddha has linked his Dhamma, and he says that why our mind get distracted, because internally we are not happy. The present state, we are not contented. We want something more. So mind is in search of various things. He jumps outside, does not like to stay with you, and it is going outside. Suppose you are developing mindfulness, again and again developing mindfulness, more and more you be with yourself, mind also starts to be with you. It starts to trust you, not others. It starts to trust your practice. So, in case mind get grasp something, again the agitation arises, because all these grasp objects are subject to change. They can't maintain their qualities. So why we get attached to that? Because we were expecting certain qualities, certain good qualities, certain characteristics in a particular object. But that very object can't maintain that. Unfortunately, due to our habit patterns, habitual tendencies, we get grasp, we get hold, we get cling to it. So we suffer. So he understands, this very practitioner understands, so whatever arising is suffering arise. Whatever ceasing, whatever passing away is suffering passing away. This is a kind of a profound understanding. So Buddha says, Dukkhameva uppajjamanang uppajjati, dukkhang nirujjamanang nirujjati. So these are certain, he's taking us deeper and deeper to the practice. And this person, this practitioner, now in a fairly developed state of vipassana, he understands, so whatever these conditioned phenomena is nothing but suffering, nothing but unsatisfaction. Sabbe sankhara dukkha. So whatever the conditioned phenomena, because that is conditioned, that is depending on so many causes, so many reasons. When it is depending on so many reasons, when something is depending on so many causes, how one can have happiness? So we are trying to find happiness where there is no happiness. So this is in a way kind of a delusion in ourselves. So that's why Buddha says, more and more one understand the reality, one become dispassionate towards this process, disenchanted towards this process. Yatha bhuta jnana dassanang nibbidattaya. More and more one practices, more and more one understands the impermanent nature, unsatisfactory nature, non-self nature, and he becomes disenchanted about this ongoing process. Nibbindang virajjati. He further becomes dispassionate towards this process. Dispassion arises. Viraga vimucchati. At a particular time, when the dispassion comes to its culmination, the mind releases its grasping. So one may experience momentary freedom from objects. So again and again one practices, again and again one practices. So he experiences this freedom for a minute. He experiences this freedom for 5 minutes. He experiences this freedom for 15 minutes. Within this freedom of mind has its own clarity, because it is not colored by objects. Whenever mind attaches to something, whenever mind holding to something, it is under the grip of that object. So that object colors the mind. If it is lustful object, so mind become lustful. If it is hateful object, mind become hateful. If that is a delusive object, mind is in a delusion. In case mind is free from any of these objects, Buddha says it has its own freedom. Cheto vimutti. So mind freedom. So it doesn't need any object to attach for its own ongoing. So mind can stay without an object. So this practitioner now come into a different paradigm. Now his mindfulness is getting to a different domain which has no objects. Now his mind is free from objects. Now mind is unentangled. Mind become more and more purified. Mind become more and more clear, mindful, and he sees things clearly than the other people. And he now has no doubt about the path, because he now established in Dhamma. He understood the principle, arising and passing away. Based on that, the Paticca dependent arising, and he has let go things, and he earned this freedom of mind, even if because of the habitual tendencies, again mind grasps something, he uses his wisdom and coming back to the freedom of mind. Panya Vimutti causes the Ceto Vimutti. So, due to habit patterns, due to asava, due to influxes, again mind attaches. So, wisdom comes to the front and releases the mind. Again mind goes and attaches, because we are used to attach. We are used to grasping. We are used to clung to. We are used to engage. So again and again mind go and attach. So now the mindfulness shows, again it has gone to the past habit. So wisdom come to the front and releases it. Take it back to the paradise. Take it back to the oasis. Oasis is nothing but this freedom. So one practices this again and again. From the very moment of waking up till he goes to sleep, he is watching the mind. Is it going to grasp something? Is it already caught to something? Has it become enslaved to something? If so, he is using his wisdom and releases it, coming back to the freedom of mind. Now there is no doubt. There is no doubt about the Buddha, no doubt about the Dhamma, no doubt about the Sangha. Aparappaccha jnanamevassa etta hoti. So, if I use the Buddha's words, na kankati, na vichikicchati, aparappaccha jnanamevassa etta hoti. So, Buddha explains this teaching to Kaccana Gotta, and Buddha says, once he understood this teaching, and he has no perplexity, na kankati, no perplexity, na vichikicchati, he has no doubt. Aparappaccha jnanamevassa etta hoti. His knowledge, his understanding does not depend on someone else. It is not a book knowledge. It is not borrowed knowledge. It is his own wisdom. It is something he is experiencing. Ittavatako kaccana sammaditthi hoti. Now Buddha says this is the profound sammaditthi. So you can see where Buddha is taking us. So his sammaditthi is something which mind has released, not that mind has grasped. Typically we think ditti means that we want to hold something unique, something profound or something important that we have to hold. But here Buddha says, in this sammaditthi, what he preaches, mind does not hold anything. That's the beauty of his Dhamma. There is no dogmatic holding, no any adherence, no any attachment, no clinging. So mind is free. Buddha says this is the sammaditthi. It's a very profound sutta. So we have come from Maha Tanhasankhaya, and we have touched this Kaccanagotta Sutta, and so Buddha is actually telling the same thing, that how one will eliminate craving and get into the freedom of mind that is empowered by freedom of wisdom. And if we are able to touch this sammaditthi, then as Buddha says, na kankati, there is no perplexity. You don't need to go again and again find various teachers, looking at various other religions. No vichikicchati. And you yourself has no doubt, because you understood the teaching by yourself. Buddha has taught the path, you have practiced according to his teaching, you have spent time, you did your part, and you have now touched the teaching. You understood the principle. And this principle is nothing but cause and effect. And if you are maintaining the freedom of mind, still there are causes disturbing it, and you are removing the causes, again you come back to the freedom. So it's a matter of maximizing this freedom. Again and again, maximizing this freedom. Due to habitual tendencies, mind go and grasp. So you understand that mindfulness will show that again mind has gone and grasped. Now the wisdom come to rescue the mind. It does something and then release it. It is like a caterpillar. He has seen a beautiful, flame. It is glittering, bright, and it is going and jump to it. And again jumps. Again, due to some damage, it drops. But he again gets wake up or again get conscious, again jump to that. So that is how our mind also works. So we are teaching the mind that don't do this stupid thing. So again and again mind also does the same thing. So now you understood some freedom, mind can stay without grasping, without getting and burnt with these objects, but still like that caterpillar, again it goes and get burnt. Now wisdom go and give some oxygen, put some water, again rescue it, take it back to freedom. So we think that the caterpillar is a real stupid guy. Our mind also the same. We are doing the same stupid thing again and again. So in this Maha Tanhasankhaya Sutta, therefore Buddha is teaching his salient teachings, very important teachings. So we have gone through fair amount of Dhamma, starting with that Venerable Sati's wrong view, and testing other monks. Buddha is verifying with the other monks whether they got the message properly, and they are answering it properly. Not because that Buddha is telling, not because that their teacher is telling, not because that they believe, rather they themselves have seen the teaching. They themselves have tested it. They themselves have experienced it. And then Buddha is teaching us on the 4 nutriments, and then he leads us to Paticcasamuppada, dependent arising, and he then explains how one get caught to the vicious cycle of the arising side of the Paticcasamuppada, and then he explains what is the escape. And after he explains that, he concludes telling monks, you properly understand this Dhamma. This is the true Dhamma. Don't follow Venerable Sati. He has get it wrong. So you have touched the proper teaching, not because I am telling, but through your own experience. So you keep this proper teaching. So after this, Buddha concludes this Dhamma sermon, and this sutta ends. So therefore, we have gone through this sutta, I think, several months. So we have come to the end of this Dhamma sermon as well as the sutta. So with that concluding remark, we'll conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for listening. Since we won't be having tomorrow question and answer session, so if you have any question related to this Dhamma sermon, related to Maha Tanhasankhaya Sutta, because that we have discussed for a long time, so feel free to ask, because I can spend many more time today, but I have to leave today. Because typically I leave on Sunday, but there's a retreat get overlapped, and I have to be in Nissarana, and so I have to leave today. So if you have any question related to today's Dhamma sermon, or still if you have any question related to your practice, so I welcome. So you all understood it. Yeah, that's the question. Yes, interesting. Please come. Yes, yes. That is, if you can carry the other mic. Yeah. Please come. Yeah, one moment.
Sometimes when I don't meditate, when I
Yes.
listen to something,
Yes.
or doing nothing, or waiting for somebody, or listen to somebody's speech or something,
Yes.
then I can feel the abdomen going up and down also. Is it okay?
Yeah, no problem. Because if you, it is better to be with yourself than get caught to anything. Therefore, if you are doing this practice, so more and more, as we discuss also, so your mind starts to come back to yourself. So, and while you are observing this process, you can even listen to them as well. Yeah. You can check But I mean, sometimes if you pay full attention to this,
Yes,
then
yes.
you get, I mean, you can't get
Yes,
the message.
Yes.
So you have to partially, you can maintain your attention here and partially you can be with them. Then, then it will make sure that you are utterly present.
Oh.
Because this helps to keep you in the present moment. And at the same time, you are listening to another person and also getting the message as well.
Yes. So regarding this Maha Tanhasankhaya Sutra, now you said that you have to then and there, whenever there's some lust or some beautiful thing or something like that, you have to stop feeling about it, or rather getting attached to it. Yes. So now every time when you do that, I mean, I can't understand how to live in the present moment. Then you
so
are
actually,
you are going on doing that.
No, thing is, so we discuss a little deeper there. So if we are referring that the mind without an object, so that Buddha says is the like coming back to the home of the mindfulness. So there is another sutta, I refer that to give you the example. So there is one Brahmin called Unnaba. So he comes and asks, now through the eyes we are getting the visible objects. So through the ears we get the sounds. Through the nose we get the smells. Through the tongue we get the taste. Through the body we get the tactile sensation. Through the mind we get the mental objects. So he asks, ultimately, where are they get kind of accumulated, something like that. And Buddha says it is the mind. It is there, the mind. Then he is asking what is the sort of the rescue or the refuge for the mind. And Buddha says for the refuge for the mind is the mindfulness. Refuge for the mind is the mindfulness. Sati. Sati is the refuge for chitta. And then this Unnaba Brahmana, he is very inquisitive and he is asking, what is the refuge for mindfulness? And Buddha says it is the vimutti, the freedom of mind. So freedom of mind is fairly deeper point where freedom of everything. So when the mind is get caught up to sights, it is not freed. When the mind is caught up with sound, it is not freed. Similarly, when the mind is caught up with any defilement, it is not freed. So freedom of mind means it has to be freed from any of all these things. So and Buddha says, for the mindfulness, the refuge is this freedom. And then this Unnaba Brahmana, he asks, then what is the refuge for this freedom? Then Buddha says, it is Nibbana. So Nibbana, so Nibbana is basically, you are again and again, when mind goes and jump to that flame, so you put some water, so you Nibbana. So you come back to the freedom. So this, again and again, when you are rescuing the mind, when you are avoiding this grasping, so your mind is not burning. So the meaning of Nibbana, in that sense, is stilling, quenching the fire. So why Nibbana? In Sinhala we call Nivima. Because our minds are burned because of the defilements. Now Buddha says, so when you are free from defilements, it is not burning. So therefore Buddha says, for freedom of mind, for the vimutti, for the freedom of mind, the refuge is Nibbana. Because you can't maintain this freedom when it again go and attaches, because it again get burnt. Now you are applying the practice and again you make it free. You quench it. You extinguish the defilement burning. And you will come back to the freedom. So Nibbana is actually the ultimate. And then Unnaba Brahmana again asks, what is the refuge for Nibbana? So Buddha says, now you have gone too far. Nibbana is the end. Nibbana is the end. Because what is Nibbana is, Buddha, according to the Buddha, Tanhasankhaya, complete uprooting of the craving. Ragakhayo, dosakhayo, mohakhayo, that is the Nibbana. So complete eradication of lust, complete eradication of hatred, complete eradication of delusion. So that is the Nibbana. So when one achieves that, that's the end. So this is a beautiful sutta where we need to understand if we are able to maintain that freedom of mind, we are already at home of the mindfulness. For mindfulness does not need an object to be mindful. At the beginning it is necessary, of course, because it is like an anchoring point for the mind. It is necessary. Definitely it is necessary. But when mind shifts to the other paradigm, it is not necessary. Yes, it's a great question actually. So when someone is in that freedom, therefore no need to go or ask for objects. No need. Then you are asking a burning. Yes. You have a question? Yes. So that's the thing. So we need to clarify, emptiness is one state, and that emptiness has to be further and further strengthened by wisdom. That's why Cheto Vimutti and Panya Vimutti. Cheto Vimutti is very much the freedom, and it has to be strengthened by the Panya Vimutti. So we may have certain kind of a temporary freedom, temporary emptiness. So this emptiness is not lasting. Because the influxes are there, asava anusaya is there. This asava anusaya again and again putting the mind back to something. So then and there we have to free. Then and there we have to use the wisdom to purify the mind, to escape the mind or to rescue the mind. And once rescued, naturally back in the freedom. So therefore this go hand in hand. At the beginning you get footed, you get established in the freedom of mind, but that cannot last because of the defilement power. Now we are using mindfulness and the wisdom to rescue the mind. Once rescued, it is back in the freedom. So it's a hand-in-hand process. We have to constantly go in. Constantly we have to practice. So there are very sort of tricky points where you are maintaining this freedom of mind. Is it due to wisdom? Is it due to mindfulness? Is it due to concentration? So those are the risky areas. So one can maintain some empty-like mind, but it's not it may not be utterly free. It has some freedom, but it may not be completely free. So therefore, one has to go through very carefully. More and more, when mind get clean, then only one can see the little dust. Say for example, when water is not purified, suppose you have so many dirt in it, so it is utterly dirty. Suppose you use a filter and filter it out the gross parts. Now the gross parts has gone. Now you can see the even little dirt. So now suppose you use some advanced filter and again you filter it. Now water is further clear, further clean. You can see even the bottom of the vessel. But still there may be germs and all these things, still not clean maybe. Something like that our mind also. So at the beginning, so we are simply cleansing the gross defilements, Nissarana, hindrances. So these hindrances we first subsiding. So then some clarity of mind arise. So with that clarity we are now further proceeding. So that is why the Buddha is telling that the purification happens stage by stage. In the first attainment, Buddha says only 3 defilements gone away. 7 exist. So and more, actually the same practice. It is not that when one becomes Sotapanna, he has to do a new thing to become Sakadagami. It's the same thing one does. Again and again, further and further purifying. Because when mind becomes more purified, it can see little dirt still available in the mind. Something like that. Like water purification. Yes. Okay, then we'll wind up this session. I'm sorry that I cannot be with you on tomorrow. So hopefully our organizers will do something. But I'll promise that I'll be with you all 3 days on next month. Yes. So at the end of this Dhamma sermon, we typically share merits. So by observing precepts as well as listening to Dhamma sermon as well as participating to a Dhamma discussion, we were able to accumulate a lot of merits. Again, you all were practicing mindfulness and trying to cleanse the mind. So through this also we have accumulated a lot of merits. So we share all these merits with all the past away relatives. We share all these merits with all the deities, gods, and again we share these merits with whoever the beings in need of merits. Similarly, we wish these merits help us also to understand the Buddha's teaching, cleanse the mind and attain path, fruition, Nibbana.